Part 1. The stars were quiet that night, not because they had nothing to say, but because no one had ever listened closely enough. Far beyond the edge of human space, where the Milky Way thinned into dust and dark, a ship moved without sound. It was long and silver, shaped like a blade, and it carried the weight of an empire older than Earth's oceans. Inside, Commander Vex Torlan stood before a curved screen, his 4 eyes fixed on a pale blue dot growing larger with every passing second. Earth. To the Galactic Concordance, Earth was just another anomaly, another flicker of radio noise in a quiet corner of the galaxy. They had catalogued thousands of such worlds. Most were harmless. Some were useful. A few had to be erased. Vex had done the erasing before. He did not enjoy it, but he did not question it either. Order required sacrifice. Stability demanded control. His second-in-command, a lean officer named Kira, stepped beside him. Scans confirm biological activity. Oxygen-rich atmosphere. One dominant species. Technologically primitive. No warp signatures, no orbital shipyards, no energy weapons. Vex nodded. Then they are not a threat. Not yet, Kira said carefully. But their signals, they are strange. Aggressive. They speak of war even when not at war. They broadcast images of destruction for entertainment. Their leaders threaten each other with planet-killing weapons and call it policy. Vex frowned. That was unusual. Most pre-warp species feared extinction. These humans seemed to flirt with it daily. Pull up their military networks, he ordered. Within minutes, the ship's AI decrypted fragments of Earth's digital chatter. Satellite feeds showed fleets of aircraft carriers, missile silos buried under mountains, submarines gliding beneath ice. One file labeled Mutual Assured Destruction made even Vex pause. It described a doctrine where 2 enemies kept enough bombs to wipe each other out 10 times over, not to win a war, but to ensure no one dared start one. They are unstable, Kira said. If they ever achieve spaceflight, they will bring chaos to the sector. Vex agreed. The Concordance had rules. Civilizations that could not govern their own violence were not allowed to reach the stars. It was not cruelty. It was mercy for everyone else. Initiate Protocol Veil, he said. Kira hesitated. That will shut down their global communications. They will panic, they will comply, Vex corrected. Or they will prove why they must be contained. High above Earth, the Concordance ship released a swarm of tiny drones. Invisible to radar, they slipped into the atmosphere and attached themselves to satellites, cell towers, power grids. Within minutes, the planet went dark. Phones died. Radios hissed static. Internet vanished. Air traffic control lost contact with every plane in the sky. In cities from Tokyo to New York, people looked up, confused, then afraid. Then the message came. It poured from every speaker, every screen that still held a flicker of power. A calm, synthesized voice speaking in every major language at once. You have been observed. Your species is under evaluation. Cease all military activity. Power down all weapon systems. Await further instruction. Resistance will be met with immediate pacification. On the bridge of the Concordance vessel, Vex watched the planet's response. He expected chaos, screams, riots. Instead, something odd happened. The chaos stopped. Planes that had been circling blindly landed safely. Emergency broadcasts switched to coded tones. Military bases went silent, not in surrender but in discipline. Even the constant hum of global chatter, the news, the arguments, the music vanished completely. Earth didn't scream. It held its breath. That's not compliance, Kira whispered. That's preparation. Vex said nothing. He had seen this before, on worlds that knew they were about to be invaded. They didn't beg. They got ready. Down on Earth, in a small town in Colorado, Daniel Brooks was fixing a fence when his phone died. He frowned, tapped it, then looked up at the sky. He'd been out of the service for 10 years, but old instincts didn't fade. The silence felt wrong. Too clean. Too sudden. He walked inside, turned on his shortwave radio. Static. He tried his ham radio setup in the garage. Dead. Then his old military-issue emergency beacon, a relic from his Air Force days, flashed red once, then went dark. Daniel didn't panic. He went to the basement. Behind a false wall, he pulled out a metal case. Inside were maps, encrypted comms gear, and a sidearm. He'd hoped he'd never need it again. But the silence told him otherwise. In Houston, Maya Ruiz stared at her university's radio telescope array. All signals from deep space had been replaced by a single repeating tone. She ran diagnostics, checked for solar flares, equipment failure. Nothing explained it. Then she noticed something odd. Every nation's scientific network had gone offline at the exact same millisecond. Not a glitch. A coordinated blackout. She called her brother, a naval officer in San Diego. No answer. She tried her parents in Miami. Nothing. For the first time in her life, Maya felt truly alone, and that scared her more than the silence. In a dimly lit apartment in Chicago, Kevin Owens sat surrounded by monitors. He wasn't military. He wasn't even supposed to be awake. But when the internet died, his custom-built intrusion detection system pinged once. A ghost signal, alien in structure, riding on dead frequencies. He traced it back to a point high above the equator. Something was up there. Something that didn't belong. He typed furiously, trying to ping military satellites. Most were dark. But one, a classified bird used for nuclear launch detection, still had a sliver of battery. Kevin sent a single command. The satellite turned its lens toward the source. What it saw made him freeze. A ship. Huge. Smooth. Not human. Kevin didn't hesitate. He patched into the last working emergency broadcast channel, the one reserved for national catastrophes, and typed a message. Just 5 words. You picked the wrong planet. He hit send. The message blasted across every surviving speaker in North America. In bunkers, in submarines, in command centers buried under rock, people heard it. And they smiled. Back in orbit, Vex saw the transmission. He expected fear. Instead, he heard defiance wrapped in calm. It made no sense. These humans had no weapons that could reach him. No shields, no fleet. Yet they weren't begging. They are bluffing, Kira said. Vex wasn't so sure. He ordered a closer scan of Earth's orbit. What the sensors found confused him. Dozens of objects, old rusted, labeled as space junk, were powering up. Solar panels unfolded, thrusters fired, antennas locked onto his ship. They weren't junk, they were weapons, and they were waking up. Vex finally understood. Earth hadn't gone silent because it was scared. It had gone silent because it was loading its guns. The humans weren't primitive. They were patient, and they had been waiting for someone like him to make a mistake. Part 2. The silence lasted 3 days. Not the quiet of peace, but the stillness before a storm. In bunkers deep beneath mountains, in submarines under ice, in command centers lit only by emergency lights, humans waited. They did not panic. They prepared. Every nation had plans for this, not for aliens, but for the end of the world. And to them, it was the same thing. In Colorado, Daniel Brooks drove through empty roads toward Cheyenne Mountain. His old ID still worked. The guards let him in without a word. Inside, the air hummed with tension. Generals, scientists, and intelligence officers moved quickly, speaking in low voices. No one wasted time on blame. They had a problem and they needed to solve it fast. A woman with sharp eyes and a tired face approached him. Colonel Brooks, we've been waiting for you. Her name was Maya Ruiz. She'd been flown in from Houston after her analysis of the alien signal proved critical. She explained what they knew. The ship above Earth was not alone. More were coming. The message they sent, "You picked the wrong planet," had been heard. But it wasn't enough. They needed to show the enemy they meant it. Nearby, a young man with messy hair and a coffee stain on his shirt tapped furiously on a keyboard. His name was Kevin Owens. He'd hacked into a dead satellite and sent the warning. Now he was working with military cyber teams to rebuild Earth's network using old, hardened systems. Ones never connected to the public internet. These systems were slow, analog in places, but they worked. And they were hidden. We can't fight them head-on, Daniel said, looking at a screen showing the alien ship hovering near the moon. Their tech is centuries ahead. We don't have to beat them, Maya replied. We just have to make it too costly for them to stay. Kevin nodded without looking up. Their ship runs on plasma conduits. I found a weakness in their comms array. If we overload it with a feedback pulse, it could knock out their shields for a few seconds. A few seconds isn't enough, a general said. It is if we hit them with everything we've got in that window, Daniel said. The room fell quiet. They all knew what everything meant. Nuclear weapons, not as a first strike, but as a tool. not to destroy cities but to shape space itself. Old ICBMs, retired but still functional, could be reprogrammed. Their warheads could be replaced with kinetic rods, tungsten spikes that hit like asteroids. Or they could be detonated in space, not for blast, but for radiation and electromagnetic pulse. The plan was crazy, but it was all they had. While the military worked, scientists like Maya studied every scrap of data from the alien broadcast. She noticed something odd. The concordants used harmonic frequencies to stabilize their shields. If you hit them with the right resonance, even a small energy burst could cause a cascade failure. It was like singing a note that shatters glass. She shared this with Kevin. He grinned. I can build a signal that mimics that frequency. Broadcast it from our satellites right before the strike. But we only have a few satellites left, someone said. Then we make them count, Daniel said. Across the planet, crews worked in secret. In silos under the plains of North Dakota, engineers powered up missiles that hadn't moved in decades. In shipyards, old radar dishes were re-aimed at the sky. In labs, physicists calculated trajectories not for war but for precision. How to turn Earth's own orbit into a weapon. No one told the public. Not yet. Panic would only help the enemy. But families knew something was happening. Lights stayed on in government buildings all night. Military convoys rolled through towns without stopping. People whispered, but they also trusted. They had lived through pandemics, wars, climate disasters. They knew how to hold on. On the fourth day, the aliens made their move. More ships arrived. Not dozens, hundreds. Sleek, silver, forming a ring around Earth. A new message came, louder this time. Your defiance is noted. Surrender now or face pacification. This time, Earth did not stay silent. From every continent, every nation, a single reply was sent. Not through radio, but through laser pulses bounced off the moon. It was short, clear, final, no. Then the real work began. Kevin's team activated the first satellite. It fired a narrowband signal toward the lead alien ship. The frequency matched the shield resonance Maya had discovered. For half a second, the ship's shields flickered. That was all Daniel needed. From hidden silos, missiles launched. Not in a wave, but in a pattern like a net. Their warheads didn't explode. Instead, they released clouds of smart debris, tiny drones coated in radar-absorbing material. They drifted into the Lagrange points, where gravity balanced perfectly. There they waited. The alien fleet moved closer, confident. They expected bombs. They got chaos. The debris clouds shifted, guided by weak signals from Earth. They swarmed the alien thrusters, clogging intakes, scratching sensors. One cruiser spun out of control when its navigation array was blinded by a swarm of microdrones no bigger than coins. Then came the kinetic strikes. Tungsten rods. Dropped from high orbit, hit the alien ships like hammers. No explosion, just raw speed and mass. One rod punched through a cruiser's hull and out the other side, leaving a clean hole and a trail of frozen air. The Concordance ships tried to retreat, but Earth's defenses were already adapting. Old space stations, long written off as junk, powered up. Hidden thrusters fired. They moved into position not to attack, but to block escape routes. Vex watched from his command deck as his fleet lost formation. Alarms blared. Shields failed. Communications scrambled. He had expected primitives with sticks and fire. Instead, he faced a species that turned scrap into traps and silence into strategy. How? He asked, voice tight. Kira stared at the screens. They used what they had. Nothing more. Nothing less. On Earth, in a bunker lit by red lights, Daniel, Maya, and Kevin watched the battle unfold on grainy screens. They weren't cheering. They were calculating. Every loss on the alien side was a second bought. Every second mattered. We can't keep this up forever, Kevin said. Our satellites are running out of power. We don't need forever, Maya replied. Just long enough to send a message. Daniel nodded. Then let's make sure they hear it. He picked up a secure line. Gave one order. All across the planet, hidden facilities powered up their final systems. Not weapons, transmitters, powerful ones. Linked to every surviving broadcast tower, every emergency channel, every ham radio frequency. And then, Earth spoke again. Not with threats. Not with noise, with truth. Footage played, grainy black and white clips of Hiroshima. Color videos of Cold War drills. Live feeds from nuclear silos, showing rows of missiles standing ready. A voice calm and firm said only this: we do not want war, but we know how to end one. The message repeated in every language. It showed not just weapons, but the will to use them. Not out of hate, but survival. On the Concordance flagship, Vex saw it all. He understood now. These humans were not like other species. They had looked into the abyss so many times they had learned to build ladders out of bones. He gave the order to fall back. But as his ships turned, Kevin sent one last signal, a fake distress call. Mimicking Concordance codes beamed toward Jupiter. Vex didn't notice. He was too busy trying to understand how a planet with no starships had just beaten his fleet with rocks, radio waves, and sheer stubbornness. Down on Earth, the silence returned. But this time it was different. It was the silence of victory and warning. Part 3. The Concordance fleet pulled back, but not fast enough. Their ships limped toward the edge of Earth's orbit, shields flickering, hulls scarred by tungsten rods and debris. Commander Vex stood on the bridge, his face tight with disbelief. He had come to judge a primitive world. Instead, he had been taught a lesson in warfare he did not understand. Humans did not fight with lasers or plasma. They fought with gravity, silence, and time. But Vex made one mistake. He thought the battle was over. On Earth, Daniel Brooks watched the alien ships retreat on a grainy screen. He turned to Maya and Kevin, who stood beside him in the dim command bunker. "They're running," he said. "But they'll be back. With more." Maya nodded. "They saw our tricks. Next time they'll be ready." Kevin cracked his knuckles. "Then we give them something new to worry about." He pulled up a star map on the screen. Jupiter glowed red. "Remember that fake distress signal I sent? It's broadcasting on Concordance emergency channels, strong enough to be picked up by their deep space relays." Daniel frowned. "Why Jupiter?" "Because it's a trap," Maya said, eyes lighting up. "Jupiter's radiation belts are deadly. Their ships aren't built for that kind of environment. If they send reinforcements to investigate the signal, they'll fly right into a storm of charged particles." Kevin grinned. "Their electronics will fry before they know what hit them." The plan was simple. Let the Concordance think Earth was weak. Let them send help to their stranded ships near Jupiter. And while they were distracted, Earth would prepare for the real fight. Across the planet, work began in secret. Old missile silos were reloaded. Submarines armed with new payloads slipped beneath the waves. Factories that once built cars now welded armor plates onto drone frames. No one complained. No one asked why. They had seen the sky go dark. They had heard the warning. Now they knew. Earth was at war. In orbit, the so-called space junk kept moving. Kevin had reprogrammed every surviving satellite, every dead probe, every piece of metal circling Earth. They formed a net, not to block, but to watch. If a single alien ship crossed the moon's orbit, Earth would know. Weeks passed. The Concordance stayed quiet. But their silence was not peace. It was calculation. Then the trap sprung. A new fleet, larger, faster, jumped into the Jovian system. They came in response to the fake distress call, expecting to rescue damaged cruisers. Instead, they found empty space and a looping signal that grew stronger as they approached. Too late, their sensors screamed warnings. Jupiter's radiation belts, already fierce, surged with solar activity. The alien ship's unshielded circuits sparked and died. Navigation failed. Life support stuttered. One by one, the ships tumbled into the gas giant's crushing grip. Back on Earth, Kevin watched the feed from a long-range telescope. "They're gone," he said quietly. "All of them," Maya exhaled. "That buys us time." But not much. Daniel knew what had to come next. The Concordance would not send more ships blindly. They would study. They would adapt. And when they returned, they would bring fire. So Earth had to strike first, not with bombs, but with fear. Using captured data from the first battle, Kevin built a new broadcast. Not a message of surrender, not a threat, a demonstration. He linked every surviving satellite, every radio tower, every emergency siren. Then he sent a signal, not to the Concordance, but into deep space. It carried video, raw footage, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, nuclear tests in the desert, missile drills from the Cold War, and then live feeds from every nuclear launch facility on Earth, showing warheads being armed, silo doors opening, submarines surfacing. The voice that spoke was calm, recorded by a schoolteacher from Ohio. It said only, "We do not seek war. But if you return with hostile intent, we will turn your homeworld into a cratered graveyard. We've done it to ourselves twice already. We know how. The message repeated in every language humans spoke. It was not polished. It was not fancy. It was truth, and truth scared even empires. On the Concordance flagship, Vex received the transmission. He watched humans stand beside weapons that could crack continents. He saw children in school drills diving under desks, not from fear but from habit. These people did not just live with the end of the world, they planned for it. Kira stood beside him, silent. "They are not bluffing," Vex said. "No," she replied. "They are warning us." He thought of the fleet lost at Jupiter, of the ships crippled by debris and rods, of a planet that turned silence into a weapon. This was not a species to be conquered. This was a species that had already survived its own nightmares and learned to use them. Still, the High Council would demand action. They would not accept retreat unless Earth gave them a reason to stay away. Vex made a decision. He ordered his remaining ships to pull back beyond the asteroid belt. Then he sent a single message to Earth, not through official channels but on a narrow, untraceable band. "I see you," it read. "I will not return." It was not peace, but it was respect. On Earth, Kevin intercepted the message. He showed it to Daniel and Maya. "They believe us," Maya said. "For now," Daniel replied. "But others are listening." He pointed to a new blip on the deep space radar. Faint, distant, not concordance. Something else was out there, drawn by the battle, by the noise, by the smell of blood in the void. Kevin's face went pale. "We just told the whole galaxy where we are." Maya looked at the screen, then at the live feed of Earth. Cities lit at night, farms under sun, oceans stretching wide. "Then we make sure they all hear the same warning." Daniel nodded. "We don't hide. We stand tall." And so, while the Concordance retreated, Earth did not celebrate. It prepared. Factories worked double shifts. Scientists shared data across borders. Soldiers trained not for invasion but for defense of the impossible. Because they knew now. The galaxy was watching, and Earth would not be prey. Not again. Not ever. Part 4. The Concordance High Council met in a chamber of black stone and soft light. Around a circular table sat the leaders of 1,000 worlds. Their faces were calm, but their minds raced. Reports from the Sol system had shaken them. A species with no starships, no energy weapons, no galactic presence had not only repelled a Concordance fleet, they had made it retreat in silence. Worse, they had sent a message that echoed through every listening post from the Orion Arm to the core. "We must classify them," said Elder Mora, her voice dry as dust. "Are they a threat or a curiosity?" "Neither," replied Vex Torland, standing at the center of the room. "They are a warning." He played the footage again. Humans loading missiles. Children practicing drills. Cities that had risen from ash twice and built bombs to ensure they would never burn a third time. The council watched in silence. "They do not conquer," Vex continued. "They endure. And when pushed, they turn their own destruction into a shield." Some counselors argued for quarantine, seal off the Sol system, let the humans rot in their little corner of space. Others whispered of weaponizing them, recruiting their kind as shock troops for the Empire's endless wars. But Vex shook his head. "You cannot leash a storm," he said. "You can only avoid it." Before the council could vote, a new transmission arrived. Not from Earth's governments, not from its militaries. This came from a patchwork network of civilian scientists, retired soldiers, hackers, and teachers. It was raw, unpolished, and terrifyingly direct. It began with schematics. Crude drawings of a faster-than-light drive, built from reverse-engineered pieces of a Concordance scout drone left behind in lunar orbit. The math was rough, the materials listed were basic: titanium, superconducting coils, hydrogen fuel. But it worked. Or it would soon. Then came a list. Every habitable world within 50 light-years, coordinates, atmosphere data, population estimates, all gathered from public scientific archives, stitched together by minds that had never left Earth but knew the stars better than most Concordance navigators. Finally, words appeared on every screen in the chamber, in every language the Concordance used. "We're coming to the galactic neighborhood, and we remember who tried to erase us." The message ended with a single image, not of Earth, not of a weapon, but of a dead Concordance colony on the edge of their own territory. Karis 9, a world lost years ago to a solar flare. In the image, the ruins were covered in strange debris, human-made, and in the center of the ash field, planted deep in the scorched soil, flew a tattered flag. Stars and stripes faded but proud. No one in the council spoke for a long time. Bex knew what it meant. The humans had not just defended their home. They had gone out, quietly, secretly, and left a message on enemy ground. We can reach you too. Back on Earth, life returned to something like normal. Power came back. Phones worked. Children went to school. But beneath the surface, everything had changed. Factories that once made cars now built fusion cores. Universities taught astrophysics alongside survival tactics. Farmers grew food in underground bunkers just in case. Daniel Brooks stood on a hill in Montana, looking up at the night sky. He wasn't in uniform. He didn't need to be. The war wasn't over. It had just changed shape. Maya Ruiz worked in a lab under Denver, helping design the first human FTL prototype. It was slow, dangerous, but it flew. Kevin Owens, now working with a global cyber defense team, monitored deep space chatter. He heard whispers, other empires smaller than the Concordance, talking about Earth. Some called humans the scorched ones. Others, the unbreakable. None called them weak. One evening, Kevin patched into a Concordance newsfeed. Illegally, of course. He saw a report about Cheris 9. The flag was still there. The Concordance hadn't removed it. They had built a fence around it. Not to hide it, to warn others. He showed the footage to Daniel and Maya. They're scared of us, Maya said. No, Daniel replied. They're scared of what we represent. What's that? Kevin asked. A species that chooses to survive no matter the cost. In orbit, the last of the old satellites powered down. Their job was done. New ones were being built. Stronger, smarter, armed not with bombs but with eyes and ears. Earth was no longer hiding. It was watching and waiting. The Concordance sent no more ships. No messages. No demands. They simply stayed away. Trade routes shifted. Patrols avoided the Sol system. When other species asked why, Concordance officers would only say, do not go there. Do not speak to them. Do not even look too long at their star. The warning spread. On a mining colony near Proxima Centauri, a young alien trader asked his captain why humans were never seen at galactic markets. The captain spat on the deck. Because they don't trade. They warn. In a university on the core world of Velnus, a student wrote a thesis titled, The Psychology of Self-Destruction as Defense Mechanism. It became required reading for all military cadets. Back on Earth, no one celebrated. They knew the peace was fragile. They knew other eyes were watching. But they also knew something the galaxy was just beginning to understand. Humans did not start wars lightly. But they finished them completely and they never forgot who started them. So Earth rebuilt. Not just cities but hope. Not just weapons but bridges. They shared their FTL designs with no one. Not yet. But they broadcasted science, music, art, and stories into the void. Not to beg for friendship, but to say we are here. We are human. And we do not break. The galaxy listened. And for the first time in centuries, it hesitated. 5 years passed. Earth healed but never forgot. Cities rose again, greener and quieter. Children played under skies no longer watched by alien eyes, or so it seemed. In truth, every telescope, every radar dish, every deep space probe kept watch. Humanity had learned its lesson. Peace was not given. It was earned. And held. The first human starship left orbit on a cold morning in March. It was not a warship. Not even close. It was small. Powered by a rough but working FTL drive built from scavenged alien parts and human stubbornness. They called it the Odyssey. No weapons, no soldiers. Just scientists, engineers, and one old Air Force colonel named Daniel Brooks, now retired but still sharp-eyed. Their mission was simple. Go out. See what was out there. And make sure no one ever thought Earth was alone again. They jumped to the nearest star system, Proxima Centauri. There they found a mining outpost run by a minor species called the Krell. The Krell froze when the Odyssey appeared. They had heard the stories. They knew what humans carried in their silos, in their history, in their silence. But the humans did not threaten. They offered data, clean water filters, medical scans, and a single message: we come in peace, but we remember. The Krell, after a long silence, shared star charts, safe routes, warnings about pirates and unstable stars. No one shot at them. No one demanded tribute. It was the beginning of something new. Word spread faster than light. On trading hubs near the galactic rim, whispers turned to facts. Humans were out there, not as conquerors, not as victims, as neighbors who carried knives in their boots and kindness in their hands. The Concordants watched from afar. They did not interfere. They did not speak. But their ships gave human vessels a wide berth. When asked why, their captains would only say, "They are the ones who turned their own end into a beginning. Do not test them." Back on Earth, Maya Ruiz stood in a new observatory built on the edge of the Sahara. She tracked the Odyssey's signal as it leaped from star to star. Kevin Owens, now leading Earth's deep space communications network, kept the lines open. Not just for science, for stories, for songs, for proof that humanity was more than its weapons. But they never hid those weapons either. Every ship that left Earth carried a small, sealed data core, not hidden, mounted proudly on the hull. Inside was everything. Nuclear launch codes, missile schematics, footage of Hiroshima, Chernobyl, the Cold War drills, and the day the Concordants came. It was not a threat. It was a lesson. This is what we survived. This is what we will not let happen again. Other species found it strange. Why show your scars? Why admit your madness? Because humans knew the truth. Strength was not in hiding your pain. It was in saying, "I lived through this, and I will not let you make me live through it again." One day, a young alien trader from the Wellness system docked at Earth's first orbital station. He was nervous. His people had been taught that humans were unstable, violent, unpredictable. He expected guns and shouting. Instead, he found a market. Music played softly. People smiled. A woman offered him tea. He asked why they were not afraid of outsiders. The woman, an engineer named Lila, looked at him with calm eyes. "We were," she said. "Once, then we learned that fear doesn't protect you. Readiness does." She showed him the station's layout. Hidden behind the gardens and labs were shield generators, drone bays, and emergency thrusters that could push the whole station into deep space in minutes. Not to attack, to escape, to survive. The trader left with more than tea. He left with respect. Years turned into decades. Human ships visited more worlds. They traded. They listened. They helped when asked. They walked away when not wanted. But they never bowed, never begged, never forgot. And the galaxy changed because of it. New alliances formed, not out of fear but trust. Species that once hid their weapons now spoke openly of their past wars, their near extinctions, their recoveries. Humans had shown them it was possible to be broken and still stand. The Concordants never apologized, but they did something rarer. They learned. In their academies, human history became required study, not as a cautionary tale, but as a case in resilience. One evening, long after the first battle, Vex Torlan stood on a balcony overlooking his homeworld's capital. He received a message. Not official, just a data packet sent on an open channel. Inside was a simple video, Earth at night, cities glowing like stars, children laughing, a farmer planting seeds, and a single line of text, "We are still here." Vex did not reply. He did not need to. He saved the file and played it often. On Earth, Daniel Brooks sat on his porch in Montana. His hair was white now. His hands were rough, but his eyes still watched the sky. A young boy, his grandson, asked him if the aliens would ever come back. Daniel smiled. "Maybe, but if they do, they'll find the same thing they found last time." "What's that?" the boy asked. "A planet that says no." And that was enough. Ships from 100 worlds now passed near Sol. Some slowed, some scanned. All of them checked their records before getting too close. And every captain, no matter their species, told their crew the same thing when Earth Star appeared on their screens. "Do not fuck with Earth.